Well, I'm a shy guy, but I like parties. And this is the best party in the world to me, to be in this room where it's so familiar to me. Ben designed this room. He dreamt it up, and it was his architectural imagination that brought this room to be. And to have so many people that I know and I'm familiar with, and to say hello to you again, and some people that I don't know, that's the best party. I like my friends to meet other people, and for us to all to get together. And what a interesting day this is for me, to be addressing something that Ben and I have been on about for our whole life and career together. 45 years, Ben would say 45 long years, living with the likes of me. But over all that time, as Linda said, we have been looking at how can we as human beings move past the defenses and move past the barriers that interfere with me being with you and you being with me, and us understanding each other when, of course, we come from different backgrounds and different situations. So we've been asking, what's love? What's intimacy? What's empathy? So to make a focus, I'm going to quote a short vignette. And picture this. In the early morning hour just before dawn, lover and beloved wake and take a drink of water. She asks, do you love me or yourself more? Really, tell the absolute truth. Okay, well, what's the right answer? What is that guy going to say? Well, I'm going to leave it hanging, and we'll return to that. But I want you to think about that, please. Think about what you might answer, what you might have answered as a young person, what you might answer now that you've had a couple kids, or what you might answer is now that you're a grandparent. But it contains the elements of empathy. Me, you, we, and how we're valued. So, Ben and I have been looking at empathy for a long time, and we keep on changing our mind. Or it keeps adding. It's like, remember that word imbricated? It's like fish scales that just keeps adding on and on. So I'm just giving you a status report where we are currently with our thinking about empathy. So we'll build it. For a long time, we realized that empathy is not a thing. You can't get it online or buy it in a store or something. That's not what it is. Empathy is it's a process. And we learn it in life. It's probably one of the main learning experiences we have from birth to grave. And so whether you're a younger person or whether you're with the silver-haired here, we all have learning to do in regards to empathy with me and you. And that's our life project. So it begins, of course, we always start with the infant. And at the beginning, me and you, there isn't a you. I mean, there is, kind of, but I think it's easy to imagine that the child in the womb is already inside mommy. So, me inside mommy, I guess if the kid could have words. And then there's the physical separation at birth, but then the psychological separation takes longer. So there's me physically outside and mommy. So the child nestling at the breast. Me, mommy. One word, I think. And then those early months, we have a grandchild now, and wow, we've been watching her grow like crazy. And in the early months, so much learning goes on. And as the child gets control of her body, and she begins to be able to see and make clear and so on, she begins to move away from mommy a little bit. A little bit of time on her own where she's playing with her feet. Or then, she gets to be able to crawl. She can crawl away and investigate other things and put things in her mouth and things like that. And that exploration, that curiosity, takes her away. Separate. And it's only a short little tether at the beginning. And you've seen little kids do this. sort of crawl away and then look back. Wow, that's a long way. Shoot back to mom. Because separating comes as a virtue of curiosity. But uniting comes with the security of the me mummy. And so the learning takes some time. And the tether gets longer, especially if the atmosphere is nutritive in ways that we don't have time to go into. So here's child crawling away, going away. And along comes the next phase now, Sheila's fun things, the words. Because as the child starts to acquire language, very quickly the child is able to organize a world out there. So we say, now we have me and outside, me and everything else. We had me, mummy. But now we got me, mummy is just part of a world out there. And as we name them, put nouns on them, those nouns assign particularities to those things, and we develop a world of objects. And this is the process of objectification. And it's normal and necessary, but it's separating. In fact, it's the way we contend with separating. By knowing that you have a name and that's a chair and I know what it works like and so on. All of those objectifying processes, I can use those as a little kid to organize my world and gain control and gain my mastery. But I keep running back to mummy for security. Okay, so those are the early days of life. And what we've established now is a self and other, a separateness, a differentiating process, and a early union. So separate and united. Okay, park that on the shelf. Now, which is better, day or night? Night, he says. Somebody with morals. Well, you know, you're trapped by the world of the noun. There is no such thing as day or night. That's a word to describe a phenomenon, and the phenomenon has to do with darkness and light. So if this is dark and this is light, then that's midnight. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., early morning, the birds rise. Noon. And this process is it's a bipole. But it's dark and light. And so there is no night. We call this night, but only like for a fraction of a second, because all of a sudden it's starting to get light now. So we could, if we were looking dynamically, say getting lighter, so the darkness is receding as the light is ascending. Okay. Which is better, separation or union? Well, it's the same absurd question. It's just how it works. So it isn't better to be separate and an individual, and it doesn't apply. Separation, union. Okay? I'm at one with the universe. I'm scared and I'm all alone and I'm isolated and I'm an existentialist and there's nobody home. And thus, of course, we can put all the philosophies in here, couldn't we? All right. So, enough. So, in that context now, development of empathy. And so I've already talked about the early stage, fusion, emergent differentiation, and I'm not going to labor over the words. Some people like to read them. Objectification, it comes with isolation. I experience a separation and an isolation and an aloneness, but it's not bad, it's just the way it is, but it's scary. So fear and anxiety and vulnerability come with separation. Comfort and security come with union, but curiosity and learning and growth occur with separation. So what kind of sense are we going to make of this? Okay, well, here I am, me and mommy now. Mommy is still an object. And what we need was a really important transform for something important to happen. It happens when the little kid realizes, mommy likes red and I like blue. Mommy's not the same as me. And if she applies curiosity to that process, she can then become curious about what mummy is and what mummy isn't. And she can learn and grow. She makes contact. Contact occurs with curiosity. We are living in a context of a vibratory condition, so we can resonate with each other when we are open. And I can vibrate, you can vibrate, but we have different vibrational qualities, so we harmonize. So our bodily, physically, mental, emotional, musical interaction is one of vibration, and it has to do with resonance. Musicians understand this a lot. Okay, well, all of that's a setup for what people often talk about as empathy, but it's inclusion. Inclusion is the ability to move over, Steve Martin's idea, to step into the other person's shoes, but actually literally step over, look at the point of view that the other person has, and see the world through that person's eyes without losing your place. So the inclusion has, you don't lose touch with your own base while you move over to the situation of the other. And then when I step back over to me, I don't lose touch with you. This is magic. It's holding two balls in the air at once. It's this business again. Okay. Well, okay, but that's not, it's more complex than that. And so we need, because it's cyclic, it doesn't just happen once, it happens over and over and over again. This is an ancient diagram, the 5 stages of change, from classical Chinese, about 3,000 years old. Water gives rise to wood, gives rise to fire, gives rise to earth, gives rise to metal. Okay, well, but what is it? Water is the winter. Wood is the time in the spring when it wakes up. This is summer, the fire at the blossom. The blossom gives rise to the fruit in the earth. This gives rise to the seed, and we come back to the water again. Okay. We thought little kids weren't capable of empathy. I want to back up for a minute. Because we thought little kids weren't very capable of inclusion and curiosity to each other. But we've now learned that little children really understand well about cooperating, sharing their toys. Little Katrina, Ben's granddaughter, when she was about 3, just recently toilet trained. She was sitting on the potty chair and your mom said, "Are you done?" And she said, "No, I just made one. I wanted to have a friend. I don't want it to be lonely." Okay, back to Chinese philosophy. Okay, but you see what this is? It's one, what we have is a stillness. If we could call this separation, coming to union, coming to separation, coming to union. Then over and over again, every time you say hello to somebody, you open a new dialogue. You start with stillness and you say, "How are you doing?" and you begin to interact with each other, and the process begins again. And then you say, "Good night, dear, have a good sleep." And you close it and you separate. Separate and union. Okay, well, I wanted to find a way to put these together, you see, because this is quite linear. And I thought, if we put this inside of this, we get this. And this is the dynamic empathy cycle. Fusion, emerging, differentiation is the seed principle. It's the stillness of the winter. There's no differentiation. The process of objectification separates us and starts us into a movement of growth and development that reaches remarkable explosion of blossom in contact. And when we have contact, then we open the possibility for resonance, because in the 5 stages, one stage sets up the cycle for the next stage. And then the resonance allows for the possibility of inclusion, which allows us to resolve the whole thing and say, "Good night," and start again the next day. And so what moves this cycle along is openness. When we're open one with another and sharing and vulnerable, including sharing our difficulties and our disturbances and our ouchy feelings with each other and so on. When we're willing to share like that, we can work past our objectifications and isolations over and over and over again. And little kids raised in this environment pick it up. So in Katrina's, Ben's granddaughter's family, she's used to seeing her parents air their differences and work them through. Well, when she was really quite young, just learning her language and stuff, she was having trouble with her vowels. And so she'd get really excited and start talking, and nobody knew what she was talking about because it was all blurry. So Daddy came home from work, and Katrina, and what was happening was that when somebody didn't understand her, she would lash out and sort of kick and raise a fuss and stuff like that. Daddy came home from work, and she was talking animatedly about her day, and he said, "Honey, I'm sorry, I don't understand." And he sort of got ready for the onslaught. And instead, there's this little voice, and she said, "Daddy, I want to say something." "What is it, honey?" "I'm a little bit frustrated." And Daddy said, "Thank you for sharing your feeling with me. I understand when people don't understand. That can be very frustrating. How do you feel now?" "I feel a little bit better." Over and over and over again. That's our process. This is what our work has been for these years, is to, how can we open our hearts to each other over and over and over again, whatever the context, whatever the place, and communicate vulnerably and share, even though all the differences that we have. Share anything that we share, truly and honestly with someone else, can enhance intimacy. Okay. Back to the original now. That poem is by Rumi, and it's from it's a section of a poem called Sunrise Ruby. "In the early morning hour, just before dawn, lover and beloved wake and take a drink of water. She asks, 'Do you love me or yourself more? Really, tell the absolute truth.' He says, 'There is nothing left of me. I'm like a ruby held up to the sunrise. Is it still stone? Or is it a world made of redness? It has no resistance to sunlight. The ruby and the sunrise are one. So if you are my sunrise, and if I am your ruby, we are one.'"